I was discriminated against my entire life because of my golden child sister. She now tried walking down the aisle at my wedding, and I finally got revenge. Ever since I could remember, my parents loved my sister more and treated her like a golden child. They didn't even try to be subtle about it because every time I accused her of stealing my clothes, they wouldn't believe me. But if she said that I took her toilet paper, I would get grounded. Even if there was undeniable proof, they'd still give her a lesser punishment and try to find a way to scold me in tandem. My birthday cake had to be a flavor she wanted, and my parents always denied, knowing I didn't like that type of cake. Our family vacations were always to the places she wanted, even if it was an event that should be about me. My sister grew up spoiled and didn't like me, just used me as a punching bag. Initially, she would ignore me, but then things worsened as we became teenagers. My parents loved to boast about her achievements but never mentioned any issues, whereas with me, they loved to bring out any flaws of mine constantly as teasing material. In high school, she had no friends and I wasn't surprised. My parents had spoiled her, which made her too introverted to talk to anyone. While I was fairly popular, she found this unacceptable and lied to my parents that all of my friends were substance abusers, and I was banned from staying friends with everyone. What saved me from complete isolation was my extended family. Most of my family lived in the same hometown, and I got along with my cousins despite some age differences. At one gathering, they invited me over and I told them how I was banned from leaving the house. When asked why, my kid self with no filter replied that it was because I wasn't allowed to have friends since my sister didn't have any. My parents found out quite quickly and had a huge argument with our extended family, and as expected, I was grounded for complaining. Eventually, my sister's situation worsened, so she changed schools. I guess the humiliation of extended family knowing her social status was bad and she demanded to be changed. My parents immediately obliged, even though it cost them more since the school was further away. My sister made friends at the new school. I thought this would make her ease up on me, but instead, it made this worse. Her friends would come over and bully me, and my parents called it light teasing. I never called friends over because my parents were awful hosts to them, or my sister would accuse them of taking stuff and they'd believe it. I did become close to my cousins though, especially because my parents didn't dare to mess with them. I was slowly starting to believe that life was back at its peak, especially because I finally got a boyfriend, but little did I know that my sister had her ways of ruining this as well. I didn't want to bring him home at all, but when my parents found out, they insisted. We arrived at my doorstep, and since the moment he entered, my sister had been staring at him. At one point we were separated and he came to find me to tell me that my sister was flirting with him. He said that she came over with revealing clothing, batting her eyelashes badly, and started telling him how bad I was and how good she was at intimacy. He told me how he didn't want to listen to more of it and came to find me. I told him that he should leave and that I was going to confront her about it. When I confronted her about it in front of my parents, my sister told them a different story, that my boyfriend had instead tried to flirt with her, but she naturally refused since she would never do that to me. I forgot how favored my sister was, and of course, they sided with her. My boyfriend wasn't perfect, but I immediately believed him. No offense to her, but she had the same body as my parents, who were overweight. I knew for a fact that my boyfriend wouldn't try to cheat on my model body with my sisters. I argued back and forth with them, but my parents prohibited me from dating such a terrible boy. We tried keeping our relationship a secret but failed to do so because my boyfriend wanted to get touchy once in a while. I ended up dating a different guy, but history repeated itself and the same story took place. I tried pointing out how this happened again, but they decided that meant I was incapable of making good choices and kept picking bad boyfriends. My new boyfriend was traumatized from this experience, so he broke up with me. Thanks to my sister, I was named the high school SLT and failed to get into new relationships. The tables turned, and for once in her life, my sister brought her first boyfriend home. Since the first second that boy entered the house, he was flooded with stories about my sister. After 2 hours of boring stories about my sister, I could tell that my sister's boyfriend was excited to leave. As soon as he left, my parents aimed toward me and asked why couldn't I be like my sister and find myself someone like that. Their relationship lasted 3 days because that poor guy couldn't carry that much weight on his shoulders, both physically and metaphorically. Years passed and things remained the same. I was confident that this was the worst things could get, but little did I know that my parents and sisters had a worse in store for me.